Yay, we are back for another Training Tuesday. And I know I had last week off, so I am happy to be back after the break. And we started last week talking about 5 obstacles. 5 obstacles we're going to smash to help you live your biggest, best life, right? To help you get the recognition that you deserve. And along with that recognition that you deserve, hopefully getting the raise, getting the promotion. So 2 weeks ago, we tackled block number 1, right? We smashed block number 1, which was when we're afraid to, when this week is when we're afraid to speak up. 2 weeks ago, it was when we're waiting for other people to recognize our value, when we're waiting for other people to recognize us. So tonight, block number 2 that we're going to smash is about using our voice. We have to smash the block of being afraid of using our voice, of speaking up. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for bearing with me. It's a little bit of a crazy summer so far. I'm amazed that we're already at the end of June. Like, that actually kind of blows my mind that it's the end of June. And it's been a couple crazy weeks, and I'm actually going to have another couple crazy weeks. So for those of you who have been spending time with me and joining the Training Tuesdays, I'm going to keep them going as diligently as I can over the summer. I do have some travel and things that I'm still trying to coordinate around making Training Tuesdays still happen. So I will do that as much as possible. I appreciate your patience if you see a couple of hiccups. While I am taking some time to have some downtime this summer, I am at the same time also ratcheting up a few things so that come end of summer, beginning of fall, when we're getting back into the swing of things again, I have some new things to share with you. And I'm very excited about that. So I am working on that behind the scenes. So if it seems a little quiet in our group site, I'm going to try to step in more, honestly, just with more videos and checking in with you guys. I'm going to keep Training Tuesdays going through the summer. But just wanted to let you know, if it seems a little quiet, I haven't been doing many master classes lately and things like that. It's just a pause. I have a lot going on this summer. I need a little bit of a summer break, but I've got some new stuff coming up in the fall, and I'm very excited about that. So I'll be sharing more of that with you as we get closer to the time. Meanwhile, though, wow. So it's Tuesday already. It is June. My calendar's over here. That's why I'm staring at it. It is June 28th already, which means by Friday, we're already in July. Go figure. And it's a good time, actually, to take a little time to step back and reassess where we're at and what we're doing, right? Because this is when our coworkers and everybody starts taking vacation time. The kids are out of school, so we're going to take a week here or a couple days there, and people are traveling again. Good, bad, or indifferent, they are traveling again. So vacations are happening. Travel is happening. And while things slow down during the summer months, it's a really good time to maybe reassess a little bit, right? Take a moment to sit back and kind of go, okay, where am I at? Where do I want to go? We're at sort of the halfway mark of the year, so where do you want to be by the end of the year? What do you want the rest of 2022 to look like for you? So part of the Smashing Blocks series that I wanted to introduce this summer was exactly that. It was to have us start thinking about, we've got half a year left to make 2022 better than 2021, certainly better than 2020. And what do we want that to look like? What is better for us? What does that mean? Is that a new job? Is that a raise or a promotion? Is it just maybe rediscovering passion for your work again? Is it a better work-life balance situation? Taking more time to do the things you love to do that maybe in the work from home environment that's been happening over the last 2 years, right? This whole blending of working from home and work-life balance, it was really hard when it was all happening in the same space, right? When your dining room table was the same as your desk and your work table and the kids' homework table and all of that. It made it really difficult. We're still coming out of that, right? It's still fresh for some people. So thinking about what you want it to look like, I wanted to talk tonight then about how we smash block number 2, which is using our voice. How do we open up and express ourselves in a way that has us playing big, that has us confident and powerful about where we're going and what we want and who we are. Because our training typically has us playing small. And I know you have this. We all have this. We all have that one friend who we love to hang out with, and yet sometimes we feel they're a little cringeworthy because she's the one who orders that really complicated meal with everything is on the side or everything is cooked exactly so. And you just kind of sit there and maybe you roll your eyes secretly or not so secretly when she takes 10 minutes to give the waiter her order. She's the friend who always has very, very detailed instructions for the babysitter or for the dog walker or whoever on exactly how things need to happen. And we kind of roll our eyes then and go, oh man, control freak much, right? She's the friend who's not afraid to talk back. She's not afraid to tell people what she thinks. She's not afraid to share her ideas. She's not afraid to tell people that they're wrong. She's also the friend who gets the best deals. She knows how to haggle, drive a bargain. She's not afraid to ask for the deal. In fact, she gets free stuff because she's not afraid to ask for what she wants. Like, we all have a friend like this somewhere in our, if not our inner circle, in our periphery. We know these women. These women who, while we may not agree or appreciate all the things they open their voices for, they have learned how to use their voice. And they've learned how to not apologize for having the voice. In fact, the assumption is that they deserve to have their steak perfectly cooked with melted butter on the side of the baked potato. Hold the chives, right? With the asparagus steamed just so, but not too soggy. Thank you very much. Right? We appreciate that they have all this complication, and we sometimes wish they'd be a little more laid back and just sort of accept life and things as they come, but they don't. They're out there asking for and defining what they want. So even when we don't fully appreciate maybe where it's coming from or what it is, the truth is there's always a little part of us that sort of wishes we had a little bit of that. And it's the little bit of that that I want to talk about tonight, because it's the little bit of that something that has you speaking up for what you want. You don't have to be your friend. You don't have to be, we're not talking about being a loudmouth. We're not talking about being obnoxious or any of that things. We're talking about being comfortable about who you are and what you want, and comfortable in your own shoes, enough so that you speak up for what you want. That you take that step to open your voice and unapologetically ask for what you want. Now, this is a big block for us. So I'm going to get into that in just a minute here, but I want to pause for a minute and just say thank you for joining me for Training Tuesday. It is Tuesday night. It is a few minutes after 6 o'clock. We're just getting rolling here. My name is Natalie Hahn, CEO of Dirty Girls Consulting. If you have not joined me here tonight, welcome. If you have, then as always, lovely to see you. Love for you to say hello in the chat, say where you're from, ask questions as we go. If you're watching this in replay, the same, still say hello, ask your questions as we go, or make your comments, share your stories. Like I said, I know we all have that particular friend. Some of us know several of them. But the more interactive this is, the more you ask your questions, the more I know how to best frame the answers, address your questions, make sure that we're tackling the topics that matter to you. And it gives you guys a chance to get to know each other as well. And hello, Regina. It's great to see you up there in Ann Arbor. Thank you for joining me tonight. I am in Massachusetts as of this morning. I was traveling last week and spent the weekend in Oregon with my oldest son, who is my middle child. He's going to school out there in the fall, and so we were at orientation and checking it out, and it made for an amazing weekend. But I will warn you of this. I came home on a red eye this morning, so I am at that stage of being wired and exhausted at the same time. Like, I'm pretty sure as soon as we're done with Training Tuesday tonight, I'm just gonna go to bed, because on that red eye flight, the plane was so cold I couldn't sleep. Could not sleep at all. And it was killing me because normally, at least on the red, I at least get 3 or 4 hours of sleep. And then I've got like just enough that I can power through today, but I got maybe an hour. Today's killing me. Doesn't mean, though, that we're not going to smash this block. So, thank you, Regina, for chiming in. Anyone and everyone else, say hello. And in the meantime, we're going to dive into why don't we use our voice? I want to think about everyday scenarios when we don't speak up. Everyday scenarios such as ordering your meal exactly as you like it. How many of us do that? How many of us stop and say, add this, don't add that, cook it just this way, right? Most of us don't. Some of us do. Some of us have been in the practice of that, and that's a little bit of an easy win, so think about that. But a lot of us don't. It's just however they cook it and however they bring it to us, that's what we eat. What about sending food back? Have you ever done that? That's a way of speaking up. It wasn't cooked to perfection, or the middle of it is still cold. Do you send it back? I'm paying for quality food. I expect quality, at least warm food, right? How do we handle that? We often don't speak up simple things that are innocuous, and maybe that's why we justify not speaking up. But things like somebody mispronouncing your name. Oftentimes we don't correct them. Oh, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Yeah, it's not a big deal. But then it's also your name. And if you're not embarrassed by correcting them, they necessarily won't be embarrassed receiving the correction, right? It's all in how we deliver it sometimes. But those are little things, little everyday scenarios where we don't speak up, right? We go through the drive-through lane and we didn't get the extra order of fries. Do we go back around and get it? Most of the time we don't. It's too much hassle. We don't speak up. What about work scenarios? What are some work scenarios where you don't speak up? So drop them in the chat. And there's my dog saying hello. Drop them in the chat. Work scenarios where you don't speak up. I'll name a couple that I think are pretty common that I run into. But and the most common one is asking a question in a meeting, right? You're in a meeting. Somebody has said something. You don't know what that means or that acronym, or it's a project you haven't heard of. And we get so overwhelmed by thinking that we should know. Somehow we're thinking we should know. We should know everything all the time. We don't ask the question. We don't want to stand out as the one person in the room who didn't know the answer. So we don't ask the question, and it means we are now uninformed for a significant part of this discussion. We don't speak up when it's time to take credit for our work. Somebody else may claim credit for it, or somebody else may attribute credit to someone else. Or we deflect and we say, it was a team effort. We give it to the whole team. Right? We do not speak up. We do not use our voice often when it's time to claim credit. Sharing an idea, a brainstorm, right? Sharing an idea, sharing an opinion in a group setting at work. Unless we've already pre-gamed this and we've gotten some buy-in, we already know we have supporters in the room, oftentimes we stay quiet. We don't raise our voice and say, well, here's something out of left field. We stay quiet. What about speaking up when you think a leader has misspoken or is making a statement that you're not sure is accurate? What about questioning a leader on their position? How often do we do that? How often do we say, could you explain that to me a little bit more? Could you go a little deeper on that? I understood the policy was this, but if you're saying this, could you help me understand the gap? How often do we question our leaders? That's a form of speaking up. How often do we defend somebody at work? Somebody else who raises an opinion, or somebody else who takes a position, or somebody who we feel is being treated unfairly by company policies or situation. Asking for that promotion or that raise is a form of speaking up. So think about those different scenarios at work, right? Where you are potentially not using your voice. Certainly not using it as directly or as powerfully as you could be. What's the impact of that? What is the impact when we don't raise our voice? If you don't ask for it, you don't get it, right? Which is a very easy and kind of trite thing to say. So I almost hate to throw it out there, but it's the truth. If we don't ask, we don't get it. Why does that friend with the big mouth get all the free stuff? Why does she get all the cool opportunities to go do things? Because she opens her mouth and talks to people. Because she's not afraid to let people know she's interested in that. She'd like to do that. And she knows the answer might be no. The answer might be you can't have that, or you can't go there. You're not going to get that promotion or raise. You're not going to get that project. Other people may disagree with her opinion. And she is comfortable enough in her own shoes to be okay with that. To just go along with that. Okay, but I asked because I knew that's what I wanted. What makes us afraid? What holds us back from speaking up, from voicing our opinion, from sharing a new idea that we know is a great idea, but we don't share it? What stops us? What stops us? It's really one simple thing. One simple thing is at the root of our fear, and that is other people's opinions. OPP, other people. OPO, other people's opinions. Opinions. Op, other people's opinions. It's the number one thing that stops us from opening our mouths, from taking a risk, from diving in to anything, especially the unknown, is the worry about what will people think. And the funny thing is we really do look at it that way of what will people think. In our heads, we don't necessarily break it down to what will my mother think, what will my boyfriend think, what will my children think. We get there if we're pushed and we're asked to clarify, what do you mean, what will they think? We will then go down the rabbit hole of starting to name people whose opinions, not that they matter to us, but that they will be vocal. We start naming the people who we know will judge us, and we want to avoid the judgment. So the number one thing that stops us from speaking out and just claiming ourselves, claiming who we are and what we want, the number one thing is our fear of other people's opinions. And it doesn't mean we're afraid of them from the standpoint of they're going to hurt us or make us angry, as much as we don't want to deal with it. We don't want to deal with it. I want to have my opinion, and I want to be comfortable in my opinion, and I really don't want you raining on my parade. So we just don't speak up. Now, the alternative would be to go ahead and share your opinion, to share your ideas, and if the person rains on your parade, well, that's on them. It doesn't have to flood your parade at all, unless you let it. It is the value we put on other people's opinions that stops us from playing big. It keeps us playing small and in this tight space where these other people tell us we belong. Don't play outside your lane because you're not that smart, you're not that cool, you're not that fast. You don't belong outside of this box that they've put us in. Now, there are some situations where the not speaking up and the going along and other people's opinions, it's fine. It is the path of least resistance. There's no fight, there's no argument there, there's nothing we have to battle against. It's fine. And you can always choose that route. It is a route that is open to you. And as you guys know, if you've been on Training Tuesdays, I am all about choice. It's not which path you choose that I'm going to judge on, and it's not my job to judge you. My job as a coach is to help you simply make a conscious choice. As long as it's a conscious choice, you own your decision. You own your choice. And if your choice is, I'm going to let that go and I'm going to go with that, I'm going to eat that cold chicken sandwich that was supposed to be hot, I'm going to let my mother tell me what I'm supposed to wear at this particular event, whatever it is, whatever you choose to go along with, as long as you are consciously going along with it, you are making a conscious and empowered choice. Even if it feels unempowered because you're going with somebody else's opinion, it is a powerful choice when it is conscious. The challenge that we run into, the problem we run into with other people's opinions, is when it goes against our values. Right? When those opinions go against something that's important to us, whether it's our values or our belief in our best self, who we are and who we could be, then we're running into a problem. Because then we're running into the friction of what we want and who we want to be against what we believe the rest of the world expects from us. This is where our training from childhood of being a good girl comes into play. Because since we were little, what were we told? Since we were little, we were told, be quiet. Good girls are quiet. Good girls know how to listen. Good girls know how to take care of others. To take care of others, we have to be tuned into others and what they want, and we have to suppress what we want. We are the victims of the children are to be seen and not to be heard, especially girls. We are the victims of if you make good grades and you listen to the teacher and you're a quiet good girl who turns in her homework, you will get rewarded. And this pattern of playing small, of not using our voice, of not stepping up into what we want and who we are and what we believe and aligning with our values every time we open our mouth, actually has worked for us all through school, where we learned that if we please the teachers, we make good grades. And if we make good grades, we please our parents. And we now have neat and simple, clear ways to please other people. And when other people are happy with us, it's easier for us to be happy because we don't have to argue with anybody. We don't have to defend our opinions or defend ourselves. We are in the channels. We are in the space everybody wants us to play in. It doesn't make us happy. It's the path of least resistance. Other people's opinions. When it goes against our values, though, when those opinions go against our values and we still conform to them, that scrapes against our soul. It really does erode away at us. And over time, we become resentful, we become angry, we get bitter. We become depressed or anxious because something is misaligned. We know something is wrong. We know that we're not quite in alignment and it bothers us, and yet we feel powerless to go against those other opinions, to step outside the mold that we have been playing in for so long in order to step into the person we want to be, the person we know we are, the person we know we have the potential to be, if we could just find our voice. Just find your voice. Once you find your voice and start using it, and it does take practice, it takes a lot of practice, and it's not comfortable, but once you do, you never go back. Because you realize a couple of things. First of all, you realize that you get what you want when you ask for what you want, which is, wow, what a concept, but you do. Second, you realize that with practice, it gets much easier to ask for what you want. So with practice, it gets easier to speak up and state your space, claim it, say who you are, say what you want. So it gets easier. Third, other people, for the most part, are happy to give it to you. They're giving you what they want from you because they don't know any better, because you haven't spoken up, and because it makes them comfortable. Oftentimes what we want, we assume it makes other people uncomfortable, or that they're gonna rebel, or they're just gonna think it's out of character, and they're gonna think we're weird, and then we fear that judgment. When actually, they're perfectly happy to help support us in what we want. They just didn't know that was it. So speaking up and using your voice gives you an awful lot of freedom. And in taking that freedom, we become so much more comfortable in our own skin and with ourselves, because we're practicing now living who we are, living from a space of being clear about what we want and what we need and what our values are. And when we're clear on that, it also becomes much easier for us to hold our boundaries around what we don't want in our lives, around what we're going to keep into our sacred space. So how do you do this? How do you transition from being the quiet person in the meeting who never asks a question because we're afraid of looking dumb, who never ventures an idea or an opinion because we're afraid it's going to sound stupid, or that nobody's going to like it, or everybody else already thought of it? How do we transition from being that person who's fearful of other people's opinions and becomes the leader who uses her voice? And you know what? If people don't like my opinion, well, that's okay. Is there a better one? Let's go find a better one then, right? Who's free to lead and not have her insecurities and a fragile sense of self all baked into just that idea, just that question, just that comment. Because we're bigger than that. We're bigger than that, and we're better than that. And we only know that through practice in using our voice. So how do we do it? There's a process you may have heard me talk about before. I cover this process occasionally in my master classes. I think I've covered it once or twice on Training Tuesday. It's called ARIA, and it's a process I came up with a couple of fellow coaches who are near and dear to my heart that I've worked with. But we started talking about what is a way to get clients through sticky moments. And the sticky moment is when you're faced with a choice of there's an old pattern or there's the new pattern. Which way am I going to go? ARIA is an acronym, ARIA. It's an acronym that stands for Acknowledge, Recognize, Integrate, Act. That's ARIA. So when you find yourself, I'm going to take a simple one, right? You're sitting in that meeting, somebody threw out an acronym, you have no idea what it means, but now the conversation that's happening, you're losing pieces of it because you don't know what that acronym means. It's the missing link, right? In that moment where you are feeling that discomfort, the first step in the ARIA process is to acknowledge that I feel uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable right now. What's making me uncomfortable? Oftentimes when there's a rub against our values, when there's a moment that our gremlin is being triggered, we feel it in our body before we feel it anywhere else. Before we even mentally recognize, ooh, I'm feeling triggered, we actually have a physical reaction. Knowing what that is and keying into that is the first step. The minute you feel the tightness in your chest, the minute you feel the lump in your throat, you know you've been triggered. Your body has gone into warning, danger, warning mode. That's your alert system. So acknowledge, oh, I'm in this moment of holding myself back. I'm in this moment of not speaking. So the first is to acknowledge it, because in acknowledging it, we're now conscious of it. When we're conscious of it, we can now take a breath and recognize, what is it that I'm afraid of? Why am I having this reaction where I am holding myself back? What am I afraid of? I'm afraid that the people in this room will think I'm unprepared for this meeting. I'm afraid that the people in this room will think I should already know this, so I'm not qualified to do my job. I'm afraid they'll think I'm stupid or that I wasn't paying attention. What's the fear? Take a half a second, because your mind works pretty fast. What is it that you're afraid of? Once you know what you're afraid of, integrate it. Recognize it. Oh, I'm afraid they're going to think I'm an idiot. I'm afraid they're going to think I'm not qualified for this job. I shouldn't be in this position. My imposter voice comes up. Integrating that feeling, it's not about denying it. It's about accepting it. So we acknowledge that we're having this moment. We recognize now what this fear is, and integrating is breathing in that moment and accepting it for what it is. I am afraid. I'm anxious. I am nervous. Whatever the trigger is, breathe in it. Accept it. Feel it. Because it's real. The situation may not be real. People may not be sitting around you going, boy, how did she ever get this job? The likelihood that they're doing that is pretty darn slim. But it doesn't mean that the emotion you're feeling in that moment that was triggered, it isn't real. It is real, but you need to breathe past it and recognize it's just an emotion. Emotions pass. If you can give yourself an opportunity to consciously recognize what the emotion is and breathe with it and say, I am feeling incredibly anxious right now because I'm afraid they're going to think I'm stupid. Just getting that out there, just getting that clear in your head starts to release the power of it. Because you can say to yourself, yeah, how real is that? How real is that? Do these people think I'm stupid? No, I've been working with them for 3 years. They know where I'm at. And it gives you that moment to do the final step in the ARIA process, which is act. It's disciplined action. You're going to choose to act in the way that you want your best self to show up. You're going to choose to act as the leader that you know you are and that you know you can be. You're going to choose to act as a person who is consciously in line with her values, who is whole with her integrity of who she is and how she wants to represent herself and how she wants to live her life. Once you breathe through that fear, you can now breathe in, what's my disciplined action going to be? I'm going to ask that question because I'm tired of this conversation going on around me and I don't know what's going on. I'm missing something. I'm going to share that idea because I haven't heard anybody say it yet. And I think it might be a good idea. And if it's not a good idea, they'll tell me. And then at least I will have more information to inform my next idea. Disciplined action is where we change the habit. It's where we break the pattern of the good girl who's quiet and stays in her lane and plays small and steps into the, I have a voice and I'm going to use it. And your reaction to my voice is your problem, not my problem. My problem is showing up as my true, authentic self, in line with my integrity, as the powerful woman and leader that I want to be. It'll be your problem to decide what you're going to do with that. So ARIA is our key to getting through a tense or emotional moment where we're trying to break an old pattern. It's acknowledge, recognize, integrate, and act. And an easy way to get through the act process fairly quickly is take that moment to thank your fear. Thank your fear for flagging out for you, right? For notifying you that there's a potentially scary situation here. Yes, I am taking a risk. It is true. Thank you for raising the awareness in me that I'm at a moment of an old pattern. And when you thank your fear, you can also say, thank you, but I am a big girl now. I'm a different woman now. I can handle this. I can tackle this. And my best self right now is going to make a different choice. You breathe in that good energy. You breathe out that nervous energy. And then you act. You act as you choose to act. Again, it's a conscious choice. That conscious choice might be falling in that old pattern, and that's okay as long as it's a conscious choice. Playing small means we are not living up to not just our potential. We're not living up to our own desires, our own ideas of who we are and everything we could do. When we play small, we are playing the rules of other people. We are playing in the lanes of other people's opinions. Not our own, not our opinions, not our desires, but what other people expect from us. And it keeps us safe. There's no risk taking if you're constantly trying to please other people. The only risk is at some point you might not please them anymore. It becomes hard. It's definitely exhausting. It's not a great way to live. But at least they're not unhappy with you and you don't have that friction. Releasing other people's opinions means you're ready to play big, to own your own opinions, and to get comfortable with the process. So that ARIA process of acknowledge, recognize, integrate, act takes practice. It's not an easy process. It takes practice. So your homework is, in your next meeting at work, ask the question. Even if it's a really dumb question, ask a question, especially if you are someone who's typically very quiet in meetings and doesn't speak up. Any question. Ask somebody to repeat something. Ask them to clarify something, but ask a question. Start getting used to the sound of your voice. And start realizing that when you ask the question, not everybody's going, That was a dumb question. Almost nobody ever says that, ever, or thinks it, by the way. And the majority of the time when you ask a question, there's at least two other people in the room going, oh, I'm glad she asked that. Glad she asked that question. So your homework first is in the next meeting, ask a question, any question, but use your voice. Your second homework assignment is in the next team meeting, share an idea. Doesn't matter how off the wall, how small, how huge, how dumb, how bizarre, share an idea. Something that you are bringing to the table for your job. Something that you are contributing. Doesn't have to be huge. Doesn't have to be a big thing, but share an idea. Again, we're talking about getting used to hearing your voice. We're talking about getting used to you speaking up in situations where you might normally be holding yourself back. You start with the baby steps. And the third part of your homework assignment is to give yourself a mantra. Because in that moment where you're hesitating and you're about to speak up, you might speak up, your gremlin voice is going to want to pull you back and go, no, it's too risky, don't do it. So in breathing through that, in having that conversation with yourself to say, I get why the fear is here, but I'm ready to make a different choice. I'm ready to be a different leader. Create a mantra. Maybe your mantra is, I'm ready to play big now. I'm ready to use my voice. Maybe your mantra is, I cannot be powerful if I am silent. Find the phrase that inspires you to step out of this comfort zone, to break this very old good girl pattern, and use your voice to speak up. Because the only way you get what you want, whether what you want is the promotion, the raise, or no tomatoes on your tacos, that's mine. I don't know how many times I've sat there picking tomatoes off my food because I don't eat tomatoes. But I pick them off sometimes because I don't speak up. And then I'm cranky with myself because it's a pretty simple request, but we don't do it. And it's habitual patterned behavior. This is not your fault. You are not weak. You are not shy. This is training, my friends. We have been trained to just accept. And I'm telling you right now, from the little things to the great big things, it makes such a difference when you find your voice and realize, I can use this. It's a tool, and it's a tool specifically designed to help me get what I want. So thank you for joining me tonight for Training Tuesday. That is my mission for you tonight. So one, remember the ARIA process: acknowledge, recognize, integrate, and act. And your homework assignment to start smashing this block of using our voice to play big is to, one, at your next meeting, ask the question, any question. In your next team session, bring an idea and share it. No matter how small or huge or bizarre or off the wall the idea is, bring it. And 3, give yourself a mantra to help you get through that moment where you almost speak up and then you're going to shut down and you're not going to do it. And then you're going to feel like, oh, I missed the window. You've never missed the window. It's never too late to say, I'm sorry, can we get back to that for a minute? I have a question. I have an idea. Could we just step back from the moment? I want to go back to this. It's never too late. That's just an excuse we use. All right. Thank you for joining me. As always, I love Training Tuesdays. I'm so happy you joined me. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. We're going to smash block number 3. See you next week, guys.